Can you put your keeper outfit on?
Won't you put a hood on and then light it on fire?
This is the Rugby Odds, where an unlikely pundit panel of a wordsmith, a WWE legend, a rugby star, and a supermodel scour the globe, seeking best bets and bad behavior. Are you not entertained?
Yeah. Thank you. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you to the point where we think we have a great show. Look in the sponsored Opportunity Green Room. You'll see stars like WWE Hall of Famer turned rugby advocate John Bradshaw Layfield, King Gift Egbelu, the inventor of words, Steve the Seven Czar Lewis, George Hook, the Irish rugby pundit, and they're all addressing what's on the Your Company name here slate. So let's get right to it. Gentlemen, we had an up and down week of sorts. We did, though, pick the top 14 home teams, and they went 5-2, so that helped our struggles in the URC. And John, you were the shining star in the Premiership, going 4-1 to help right our ship. So congratulations. Good stuff.
The shocks of top 14 being home teams. What? The French don't go on the road and win?
Yeah. Big stretch. Big stretch.
Guess who was just one of the two teams that won on the road? Toulouse, because they just want to win wherever they play. John, you uncharacteristically bet with your heart and not your head. Who knew you had one? And you picked the Pumas, and you were correct. Does that now make you the king of Argentina?
No, there's one king, and that is King Gift Egbelu. And don't you even think about saying anything else, you peasant. You bald-headed, turtle-headed peasant. Don't you say anything about the king.
When the champ speaks, you listen to the champ.
Bam!
You listen to the champ fully.
Bam!
Boom!
Bam! Hey, Argentina's great. How great was that for rugby? I mean, that chefs everything in rugby. Obviously Ireland, they can't make it to a championship. If they do, they lose. But you've got now an extra team that can compete for the true championship in Argentina. This is huge.
Aren't you going to say South Africa choked too?
No, I don't think they did. They missed the kick, but that kick, it shouldn't have come down to a kick. I mean, you can't say you choke when you have just a kick miss at the end.
That was an inexcusable miss. You can't miss those kinds of kicks at this level.
I mean, it happens.
That's the only thing you took away from the game. Argentina plays a hell of a game. There's 60 points scored. You go, no, you can't miss a kick. You can't miss a kick.
He misses key kicks all the time, and they keep going to him. They'd be more imposing if they had a consistent kicker.
You are the world's worst troll. You could find something negative in winning the freaking lottery.
See, this is why Argentina needed to win. All these traditional rugby winners, people staying with, we need our regular powerhouses doing the same thing, run the same play over and over again.
It is. The good old boy club, Matt McCarthy and his good old boys. Oh, don't want rugby to change. Oh no, those Argentinas didn't do anything. They didn't do nothing. They South Africa missed a kick. And if Ireland would have been there, of course, Ireland.
John's been muted. His mic is off. It's becoming a regular occurrence, John getting muted or his mic turned off in the first minute or so of the show. Gift, changing gears, you butchered one of the game's biggest stars' names, calling Eben Etzebeth Elizabeth Etzebattles. Do you think that may have knocked the Springboks out of whack? And do you take credit for the Pumas win?
And Elizabeth Esteban will probably break somebody simultaneously. I take no credit. I only take credit for the fact that the Springbok fans that are super fans and running on their 4 World Cups are sitting in sorrow going, they didn't really beat us. We should have been expecting this. This is going to be the team that was supposed to get beat and act as if this isn't the major deal that it is. So by my naming, which I still go by, Iban Etabits, Elabits, Elizabeth.
You're not even close. You're not in the ballpark.
Hey, win.
John, you're back now. Observations, guys.
Yeah, won't you mute my balls?
I don't know that we can do that on this program.
Can we do a sports betting show?
John, observations from last week.
Yeah, a couple things. Both the Italy teams had almost double the possession of the other teams, and Benetton ends up with a tie. Zebre ends up covering, but not winning. The Zebre played incredibly well. Scores a couple tries late. You look at the percentage of ground that they controlled. just didn't come away with victories. There were some great games being played. Ulster ends up winning at death to Glasgow.
Gift.
I mean, I got to go back on the Benetton stuff. Look, as well as Benetton did play, I can't lambast enough of the fear of losing kind of modeling. Like, you don't play to not lose. You're supposed to play to win. Kicking the ball out at a tie against a team that honestly, 8 times out of 10 you're going to beat is just the most be-made nonsense that I've ever seen. And that part aggravates me. It's the same thing the U.S. did in the Olympics against France. Like, what are you doing?
Spaniolo. That's a great reception. Not liked by the crowd, but Leandro Marin says enough's enough. And so does the referee.
You're rugby people, not soccer people. All right? Tough it out, get it down, and see what you can do. And then if it does turn over, hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles. And then use your defense to stop. That's how it's played. Play to win. And I feel like that's going to end up being an impact on Benetton as the season goes on.
You got to wonder, is that a mindset from the coach, or is that just a player making a really bad decision?
Right. Feels like it has to be a culture thing.
I mean, you're playing against the team. First game of the year. I mean, good grief. Give the fans something. Don't walk away with a tie when you have a chance to win.
Agreed. The fans booed.
Not booed.
Of course. You know, what are you doing? Every point matters in this league, and Benetton should know that.
You're probably not going to lose the game. You kick a ball deep, you're going to probably end up with a tie at worst. Take a shot to win.
We got to move on. John, how about the Premiership?
That Saracens is loaded this year. I mean, freaking loaded. They looked awesome the way they were running with the ball.
Tell me their mindset isn't back to like the old school Saracens prior to all this contract mess that they were going through last year.
You know, it might have been the shadow of Owen Farrell leaving over the last campaign. Plus, Itoje wasn't locked up, so there was questions of him leaving. So I would imagine that had to have some kind of impact on them during their games. But now they're all set. Everybody knows their role. They got a great mix of youth and experience. They're a very good team. And
they got a great system. They got some grown men playing rugby. I mean, those guys are coming at you. Saracens, I would not want to face Saracens this year the way they looked that first week.
And they come at you every week. All right, we got to take a quick break. But before we do, I just wanted to sneak in something on American soil. We had Team USA lose to Samoa, another winnable match that they didn't win. And they had the indignity of having to see Samoa qualify for the Rugby World Cup while their hopes got even more difficult.
Not a good week. I'll tell you right now, we have more African Americans on this panel than the USA men's rugby team has on their starting
Nigerian. He's
exactly.
Nigerian.
African American. Exactly.
From New Jersey.
He said
He's
it
from
exactly.
New Jersey.
Don't go. That's right. He's from Jersey. That's right.
He's from New Jersey. He's Nigerian Jersey.
Choke on your Jersey words, Matt.
All right. We got to take a quick break.
And so you're taking away from the fact that USA Rugby doesn't have any black players?
We've talked about this 1,000
I know, but
times.
you're bringing them up. I don't want to discuss them.
I wasn't asking you for any opinion. I was saying let me sneak this in before the commercial break. And now we're going to take a commercial break and bring in Stephen George.
More white guys.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street.
We are back, and we're back with Mr. George Hook and Stephen Lewis. Gentlemen, welcome back. Good to see you. George, how are you?
I'm good. All is well in Ireland. We are expecting a comprehensive triumph for Kamala Harris. The latest information is that the Irish write-in vote is going to be 100% for Harris, which is going to swing it.
All right. And Stephen, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm equally convinced that the Upper West Side of Manhattan is going to deliver a stinging, unanimous vote for Harris.
Two notorious factions that are red. Wow, just seemingly switching sides. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I don't think anyone's seeing this. All right, but it's politics aside, we have some rugby to talk about, and we can't just gloss over, despite the fact that John and Gift just touched upon the Rugby Championships match between Argentina and South Africa, in which the Pumas came out on top. George, what did you take out of this match?
Well, I don't understand how you can even use the word gloss over in one of the most, I think, extraordinary results of recent times. It's a fantastic result for the Pumas. It also, from a personal point of view, it means that Ireland are now number 1 in the world. And guess who's number 10? My old pal, Joe Schmidt, bringing Australia, into the depths of despair. How, and I'm upset about this, really, truthfully, how Australia can be below Italy and Fiji in the world rankings is really worrying for world rugby.
And yet they came off a decent performance, the one they could have easily won against the All Blacks. There might be some life in Australia yet. Stephen, what did you take out of that match?
Well, it was 29-28. It's a fairly heavily rotated Springbok side. Fantastic for Argentina. They played at Santiago del Estero up in the north, so they moved their home fixtures around, which is a great thing. That's how they grow the game in their country. Beating the Springboks anytime, not to be sneezed at, especially coming back from 17-0 down. They were down heavy early. Weathered the storm, stuck with it. So impressive result for Argentina.
And they were at home, so it was very exciting. But we did have to endure, George, their anthem. Is that the worst anthem in rugby?
Well, the Italian anthem and the Argentinian anthem share a common sort of composing glitch in that you're waiting for the thing to start and you're waiting for the guys to actually break into Latin song, and you keep waiting. It lasts about twice as long as it should do. The Irish anthem is an example for all to be followed.
I shaved twice during the Argentinian anthem. Stephen, any comments on this and the performances before games?
Yeah, so I mean, like every South American, we'll throw the Italians in as well. You wait for it to stop, and just as you think it's stopping, it starts again. Right? There's a whole symphonic, you get a whole orchestral symphony before the words are supposed to start. So that's it takes up a lot of time. But no different really from the sort of All Blacks doing a haka or any Polynesian team doing their sippy tow and all the rest of it. All these countries seem to get 2 shots at a national anthem, 2 shots at geeing themselves up. We get Flower of Scotland, it's a dirge, but we only sing it once, and we only sing 2 verses out of 3. Okay? So when it comes to national anthems, overly long ones annoy me. Ones with tribal, intimidatory extras annoy me. Just sing your song, play the game.
What's more annoying, the Argentinian anthem or that All Blacks haka of 1973, dubbed the worst haka ever?
Right. And you've got to remember, the haka wasn't always sung by the All Blacks. Okay, this is a new tradition, a relatively new tradition. It was sung on tour. And as you could see by that sort of Monty Python-esque performance you got in 1973, where the white guys clearly didn't know what they were doing, felt they had to do it, and made a ham-fisted attempt at it. But 73 haka is glorious viewing, glorious viewing. The modern incarnation is entertainment. It's a heavily rehearsed, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's like, why do they get one and we don't? Why do they get one and they don't? I'm with Campese on this. Take a ball down the other end of the park, kick it around to yourself, wait till they're done, and then we come back.
The other team should do what they want. But George, a serious question. As a coach, if you're coaching Argentina, are these guys getting extra exhausted or emotionally spent during that 50-minute anthem?
No, it's their anthem. You see, you can't you've got to be, it's like the most bloodthirsty of world anthems is the French anthem, the Marseillaise. And yes, it's probably the best anthem I hear in World Rugby. I can't wait to hear it every time it happens. But every country is entitled to have any kind of anthem they want.
But just one.
But that's fine by them. I'm okay. I'm with Steve on the Haka. I think the Haka, I first saw it in 1954. Now, when we in Cork saw it, the All Blacks hadn't been in Ireland since before World War II. So the vast majority of people in the crowd had never seen it. But now it's so what, I must say. It's a real so what.
I categorically, unequivocally disagree with both of you. I love the Haka when it's good.
You're American. You would enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm shallow. I'm vapid. That's why I like these things.
How about the entertainment, nothing about the sport?
You can go yourself, Lewis. But let's change gears. There was some other rugby. Despite the Springboks losing, a well-rotated Springboks that Steve slighted the Argentinians with. The URC and the Premiership kicked off. The top 14 got their third round under their belts. What did you take out of it for this weekend in the URC, George?
Well, I think, to be honest, you may want to consult with your producer, because you may say to him, look, we have this Irish lunatic on every week, and he can only see everything to a shamrock-shaped prism, right? So when I look at the URC, I see a fabulous game between Munster and Ulster-Rand's Connacht, who look to be the surprise of this year. I see Ulster get a victory, which they had a bad season, and I see Leinster go to Edinburgh to win. Ulster beating Warriors, who had such a good season last year. And then to kind of pretend that I'm actually neutral, I was delighted to see Benetton get a well-earned draw, which mightn't seem like much, but Italian teams are looking for the best they can get. The Welsh teams are a waste of time.
Dragons won. They won in the 83rd minute against Ospreys. Doesn't that excite you, George?
But they beat another crap Welsh team. I mean, when
Ospreys were in the playoffs.
Until such time as the Welsh teams start beating real teams, I am a deaf mute.
But that's impossible. Stephen, you're steaming a little bit. Are you steaming because the refs robbed your Glasgow in Belfast at death in the 84th minute?
One of the reasons. I actually think the takeaway from this week's, there were 6 games. Biggest margin of defeat was 5 points. 3 were by 2 points. 1 was by 1 point and 1 was a tie. That's 6 of 6 games being within a score. So I think that bodes well. True, the Welsh ones, will be separated from the rest, as is their want. Glasgow losing narrow one in Belfast, a little bit robbed at the end by the ref, but plenty of chances to put it away. They'll be better. Edinburgh scored 4 tries in Edinburgh against Leinster, but lose. And I thought a pretty rotated Leinster side. So not a great start for the 2 Scottish teams, but they'll be there or thereabouts come, 3/4 way through the season.
All right, I'm getting word that we have a little bit of time, and we did talk a little bit off camera, George. You were talking about the Argentinian model and how maybe nations could copy it.
Well, not nations. I think the USA in particular. The USA, since I first got involved in 1985-86, have had an exaggerated opinion of where they might be in World Rugby, and the answer is they're nowhere. What the Argentinians have done is good. It's a totally amateur game in Argentina. So the Argentinian Rugby Union isn't spending any money every week on professional teams in an Argentinian meaningless league. All their best players are abroad. And really, when you think about it, it's brilliant. They're making the Australians, New Zealanders, the English, the Irish, the Welsh, whoever, they're making them pay for their game. It's brilliant. I mean, it's an economic masterpiece in rugby. So it doesn't cost Argentina a dime to have one of the best teams in the world.
Stephen, you're shaking your head. You're making faces.
I agree. Argentina going well. And I think there's a partial lesson to draw from what George is saying. So they don't have those 38 guys on their books. They're not running 2 sets of professional coaches and staff and medical, what have you. I wouldn't say it's a completely amateur game in Argentina. I think that gives there are now 3 SLAR sides, which are semi-pro, which Argentina Rugby funds. Dogos, Pumas, and they're starting another one next year. George is right. I think it's 35 out of 38 are playing abroad, France, UK, Japan, wherever. 1 playing in MLR, 1 playing in SLAR, the South American League, and then 1 who was playing in the MLR, who's now uncommitted. So yes, Argentina saved money there. I'm not sure, though, that is the sole reason Argentina is successful. And with by direct comparison to the US, I would say one of the significant differences is that Argentina, though it has come out of a tradition of middle class, of the professional class. Che Guevara played rugby, incidentally, and was a doctor. There is a cultural rugby. There are clubs. There is mini rugby at the weekends. They are the foci, the focal points of their community. And so it has a rich history and tradition and culture of rugby that you don't have in the US. So that's kind of a significant difference.
I'm going to have the last word here and have to say goodbye to you guys. But I would say that, George, before the MLR kicked off, all we had was amateur rugby in the United States. And how many international stars did we ever produce? You can count them on one hand, maybe 2. So, I don't know if that model would apply here. We did it forever. We just did it incorrectly because nobody wanted our players because they weren't that good and it's a catch-22. They're not going to get better if they're not playing against better players. So there's the rub. And we have more competition for professional sports here in America where rugby doesn't even exist on the list. But on that note, I want to thank you guys very much, George Hook and Steve Lewis. We'll see you next week. Let's take a break and we'll be right back. You need your cleats? You need them tomorrow? If you order today by 3 p.m. New York time or noon LA time, they can have them to you tomorrow. Young, old, male, female, if you're playing on turf, if you're playing on grass, if you're playing in the rain, you're playing in the heat, they've got you covered. RugbyNow.com. Go there now. And we are back, guys. It's time to make some picks, but before we do, any thoughts before we start making picks?
No, let's do a sports betting show.
Gift?
Hey, it's interesting. I mean, you beat South Africa, and now you got to go to South Africa and play them at home when they're mad. I mean, this is a big deal. I mean, if Argentina can play well this week, this will tell you something huge.
The spread is 18.5.
And they just got beat. They just got beat. They're now giving 18.5 points to the team that just beat them.
18.5 point advantage just because they're going to be angry and at home? Gift, what about your fellow Argentinians?
By the way, Vespucci, I don't know if you've ever looked at a map. He happened to draw a few of them. There's a lot of different countries in South America. They're not all the same.
I'm glad you caught that.
Could be 1,000 miles apart.
You're not Argentinian? Oh, I thought you were Argentinian. John, who do you like in this match? 18.5.
I think South Africa is going to try to boat race these boys. I mean, they are going to try to run these guys out of the park. I just think Argentina is going to bring something enough that they're going to play, and they're going to play for 80 minutes, and I think they can cover this point spread. I mean, Argentina almost gave this game away and still won it. So this should be very interesting.
And in similar fashion, Australia almost knocked off New Zealand, only lost by 2 points, and now they're going back to New Zealand, and New Zealand is favored by 19.5.
I don't think New Zealand is as good as they've been in the past. I think Australia covers, New Zealand wins. I think New Zealand's kind of given up a little bit.
Yep, I do too. I completely agree with King. Everything he said about the side, everything.
I'm going with New Zealand. I think New Zealand at home, they're gonna just go bat crazy and win this one. All right, let's go to the URC. There's some interesting matchups in the URC. John, who do you like?
I like the 2 Italian teams to cover this week. I'm not sure that either team wins. I don't think Benetton beats Glasgow, but I think 12.5 points is too much. Even for Glasgow as a home opener, when they're going to lower the banner, as we say here in American sports. They're the returning champion. Glasgow wins, Benetton covers, and I think Zebre Munster is a much better team. But Zebre won the possession battle last week too, and should have won the game. Zebre scored twice late, and I think that's what happens in this one. They'll score late against Munster and cover this 14.5. But I think both the home dogs, both the Italian underdogs cover.
Gift.
I do think Sharks lose on the road against Connacht. I do think that the Stormers are going to lose up again, are at least going to keep it within coverage with Ospreys, and I do believe that the Blue Bulls are going to probably fall to Edinburgh.
They're giving 10.5 points to Edinburgh. I was looking at that one too.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah, and Edinburgh, it was 33-31 against Leinster last week. I mean, they're a pretty solid side. They're
very good team.
Very depleted side in South Africa that doesn't have their stars.
I think this is a full deck of South Africa teams not covering the spread, especially on the road.
I'm going to give some respect to the champions, Glasgow, minus that 12.5 versus Benetton. I think Glasgow at home, their home opener, and they take it to Benetton. We'll be right back.
From New York City comes America's longest running and most popular rugby show. The biggest names in Major League Rugby, MLR highlights, and big match previews. Rugby Wrap-Up presents MLR Weekly, made in New York City.
Hey, U.S. fans, you can tune into every match live on Flow Rugby. How do we know that? Because we're on there all the time. And we are back, guys. Let's talk
rugby.com. We're coming. We like Neon D.
All right, his mic is muted, so Gift, we're going to go to you for your Premiership pick.
Northampton, they're coming back with a vengeance. I think they're going to be a good competition against the Chiefs. I look at them to be able to cover.
John.
I've got a little bit of an unknown here. I'm going to bet that Saracens is a different team. Saracens looked incredible last week. I think there's something special happening this year. I'm getting Saracens to cover against Sale.
And I'm going to go with the Cherry and Whites, Gloucester, to cover Bristol at home. But I think the 9.5 is too many points. I think Gloucester will give them a run for their money. Finally, we're at that favorite time of the week, John. Picks of the week. Who do you like, Johnny?
I can't wait till we do this segment on 2 Cents Rugby. It's going to be good. We're going to have graphic. He has a white chalkboard that he draws on, Mark, and it's great. He does a great job. He knows rugby, and he's a good host. I'm going to go with the over on South Africa and Argentina because I think these guys are going to score a ton of freaking points.
Gift.
I'm going to look and jump outside of our range because there is other rugby than just the men's side. WXV kicks off this week with the women's side. You would say plays up against England. Yeah. I look for England. I'm going to just take the straight up England to win. I actually truly believe by probably 35 points.
I'm going to go with the over in the Leinster versus Dragons match. Leinster should score about 75 points against Dragons. They're not going to underestimate Dragons, and they're at home. I think they destroy them in Dublin. And on that note, we're out of time. I want to thank John Bradshaw, Layfield, the WWE Hall of Famer turned rugby advocate, King Gift Egbelu, the inventor of words, Steve, the Seven Czar Lewis, George, the Irish rugby legend, Hook, and thank you for tuning in. Please check out our other shows, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, sign up for our weekly newsletter, tell your friends about us, and please join our American Red Cross blood donor team.
2 Cents Rugby. 2 Cents Rugby. Call us. 2 Cents Rugby. 2 Cents Rugby.